Doesn't exactly matter how hard we work. What matters is how much money is left at the end of the year. And some of you might be feeling like, hey, I've worked harder than I ever have all year. I'm proud of the work I've done. We've got 5-star reviews. We got happy customers, but I get a knot in my gut when I look at the bank account balance. And that's exactly what I want to be covering on today's session. I call this the profit triangle. And this is kind of the cool little visual diagram I made to hopefully visually reinforce the point of what I'm trying to make here, which is to have predictable profits, you have to have both of these things right. You have to have your rates dialed in, your hourly rate, and you have to have your resources dialed in. This is what I call the Know Your Numbers flywheel. The Know Your Numbers flywheel essentially is the daily process of living out the profit triangle. So in the profit triangle, what I'm doing is I'm building a budget, telling the budget every dollar my business spends so I get my rates back out. I then use those rates to generate my estimate, but I still don't know if my estimate has the correct amount of resources. How will I know? Only if I track my hours. So if you're estimating jobs and doing all that math, but then you're not tracking the materials, you're not capturing all those receipts, you're not tracking the hours for the job, you're only tracking hours for payroll on the shop clock on the shop wall, well, you're left blind in half of your estimating process that could suck you dry of your profits. And the only way I'm going to know that is if I track every hour and every receipt so I can compare estimated versus actual, get my job costing, go around the loop again. Update, fiddle with my templates and production rates to get a more accurate estimate. And I'm constantly going around and around and around this wheel. Every time I track, I get more data, which helps me make more accurate the next time. And after a while, what ends up happening is you have a whole library of jobs that you've done where you've got an estimated side of resources and an actual side of resources, labor, materials, etc. And you'll use that to make your production rates more accurate, but you'll also find a lot of value in being like, hey, I'm bidding a job for Mrs. Jones, and you know what? We did a job for Mrs. Smith about 6 months ago. Let me go back and see how long that took. And that is the power of actually tracking this stuff. And it allows you to move off of guessing, uncertainty, not sure, going off of my gut, to like, no, this is exactly what it is. I know we can do it in this, and here it is. And when you live in that reality, it's so much easier to hand off your processes to other people, because one of the biggest challenges as business owners is we view ourselves as the doer of the work instead of the builder of the systems and processes that's doing the work. If you own a business, you're a builder of systems and processes. You're not a doer of the work. Essentially, solving the rates problem looks like doing my budget and using that to have accurate rates in my estimate. Solving the resources problem looks like tracking so I can take the estimated versus actual and get smarter about it and update my templates and production rates to generate a more accurate estimate next time. And when I do that, budgeting on one end, tracking on the other end, it's funneling back to my next estimate to make that more and more and more accurate every time. This is what budgeting looks like. This is what estimating looks like. It's just a list of all my materials and the quantity of them. And then, of course, the math behind my cost and overhead recovery and profit margin and all that to get to the point of what is my customer going to pay. Here I've highlighted, like in the estimate, this is the yellow part is the resources. The greenish part is the rates. Very different parts of an estimate. And you can have 100% accuracy on one of them and be off on the other and not make the money that you want to make. To get predictable profits, you have to have both of these dialed in simultaneously or it won't happen. And job costing is not so I can geek out and nerd out over numbers. It is so that I can ruthlessly look at this data and go back and maniacally update my templates and production rates so that I stop making the same mistakes over and over again. What a lot of people do is they take their costs and double it, 50% gross profit, to find the customer's price is based on a 50% gross profit. The missing component there is the overhead. We also don't want to go down the rabbit hole of unit-based pricing, whether that's lineal foot of ditch dug or square foot of pavers laid or whatever. Let's say I have a 400 square foot job, and I use my square foot pricing to get the price for it. This 400 square foot job is a 20 by 20 square, minimal cuts patio. One side's up against the house, so only 3 sides have edge restraint. How long would that take you to install? Day or two? Fine, good. Move on to the second job. Again, it's 400 square feet. And again, I'm using my square foot rate to price it. So the price of these two jobs are exactly the same. But this 400 square foot job is a 100 foot long sidewalk, 4 feet wide, curved, with a soldier course border the whole way. How long is that 400 square foot job going to take you? Yeah, a whole lot longer, probably double or triple as long. And so this is why you can't use unit-based pricing, because it does not price in variables. So we need variables, because what I can do in a template and production rate is I can fiddle with those variables and I can have way more labor, but the pavers and edge restraint and joint sand, you know, those things don't necessarily move. The things that don't move, and the things that do move, do move. And with square foot pricing, you can't do that. What pricing a job should look like is taking all of your direct costs for the bill, for the materials and stuff that you're going to have to pay for now that you won the job, mark that up to generate the dollars needed to cover the overhead costs that you have while you're on that job. You add the direct and the overhead together, you get your break even. And one of the most effective, most powerful things I've ever seen contractors have is to know their exact break even on every single job they do. When I'm in this estimate, I can see exactly what my net profit is going to be. If I want to go back in here and fiddle with this and say, well, Mrs. Jones wants me to do it for $20,000. Okay, fine. Let me plug it in, see what it does. Ooh, negative net 7%, but still was a 33% gross profit. So had I not had my overhead recovery dialed in, I would have never known that. And I would have happily accepted to do the work at a less than profitable price. I would have been paying for the privilege to do the job. And I don't know about you, but I like the money, the things that I pay money for, to be more in the hobbies category, not in the business and work category. This is what pricing a job needs to look like, and get that clarity so that you have the confidence to withstand the temptation to undersell yourself. If we solve that problem, that's a mathematical problem. It's kind of like a shot in the arm. You come in and do the numbers and it fixes it until something changes. Like I say shot in the arm because it fixes it, and then you can run with your rates. But the moment insurance goes up, you buy another truck or you do anything, you have to update your budget to get the new rates back out. An out-of-date budget is just as bad as a no budget. But let's explore the resources profit killer a little bit more. So I've already mentioned this, but if you bid a job for 100 hours and it takes you 150 to complete it, what happens? You lose money every time. And labor, by the way, is the most painful thing to run over on, because labor represents opportunity costs. If I run over on materials and I have to go buy more pavers or get more stone or whatever to finish the job, it hurts because I have to pay for that unanticipated cost, but I pay for it one time and I move on. With labor, it's a double whammy, because not only do I have to pay the team for the hours that they work to finish the job, the 50 hours, you know, that we went over there, but that also prevented us from wrapping that job up, collecting that check, and moving on to the next job. We lost a production day or two. And when that happens, not only did I have to pay for the overruns, I lost the opportunity to collect revenue on those other days that we couldn't go to the next job on. Let's just say that you have 2 days of overruns per month in your business, which doesn't sound that bad at first glance. Sure, you know, we did 10 jobs, and out of all of those 10 jobs, we accumulated about 2 days worth of overruns on labor. Doesn't sound that bad, but let's say that happens once a month, 2 days of overruns per month. You take that times 12 months, or say 10 months if you're seasonal, that's 20 production days. 20 production days is a full working month. So that essentially means that you're working for a whole month out of the year for free if you allow this problem that's on my screen right now to be chronic. And if you're, and here's what I can assure you, if you're not tracking labor to the job, it is happening, whether you think it isn't or not. It is happening and you don't know about it. And when you don't know about it, you can't fix it. That's why you want to do job costing. It is the hardest one. It's the one I see contractors struggle with the most, more so than budgeting even. Why? Because it requires daily discipline, because it requires you to be a leader in your team and have your team clock every hour that they're getting paid for toward a job. It's no longer acceptable to send you a text message and say, I worked 40 hours this week. As a business owner, you need to know 40 hours on what? Which jobs? Because I need to know, did we go over? Did we go under? Are we working too much on unbillable stuff, like maybe hanging around the office or washing trucks on rain days or servicing equipment? We look at how much we're spending, how much labor we're spending on logistics and running material and stuff. And we're like, man, that $200 delivery fee looks cheap after we look at what it costs to send 3 guys in a pickup truck to Landscape Supply Center to pick things up. And oh, by the way, stop at the gas station and get some snacks. You won't know any of that unless you're tracking your labor to the job. So If you solve both the rates problem using a budget and the resources problem using job costing to fuel the intelligence behind your templates and production rates, that is what equals 100% confidence and certainty in your proposals. I hope that you guys totally crush it in 2025. If you want to come back to our team and book a call after we end the webinar here, you can just go to our website at SynkedUP.com and book a call straight from the website there. And you can connect to us that way, or even just chat us on our website. You can just connect to us there. Thank you for coming. Cheers.